guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing something just a little bit different. I am actually filming a Q&A. I asked you guys over on Instagram if you had any questions for me. I figured I would just go ahead and answer those on here so you guys can get to know me a little bit better. I don't know about you guys, but I love watching Q&As on YouTube, so that's why I decided to do one today so you guys can just get to know me a little bit better. Whereas like my cooking videos, you don't really get to like ask me a lot of questions, get to know me, so I figured that would be kind of fun to do today. If you are new here, go ahead and hit that little subscribe button. I would love to have you. We do tons of cooking videos on my channel. I do what's for dinner every Sunday, meal prep, grocery hauls, things like that, tons of food related content. So if that is something that you are interested in, definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and let's go ahead and get into the questions. I am not going through these in any particular order. I'm just kind of going through them in the order that I screenshotted them on my phone. So we're just gonna go ahead and get right into it. The first question is, what state are you in? We are in Minnesota, which a lot of you have noticed that I have an accent on my videos and you have guessed that we are in Minnesota. And yes, we are in Minnesota. Next question is, how long have you been with your husband? So Kenny and I met in, oh my gosh, making me think back. We met in November of 2013 and then we started dating in, oh my gosh, May of 2014. Yeah, so we've been together for like 6.5 years total. We've been married for almost 3 of those. So we've been together about 6.5, married for 3 of those years. So I got tons of questions related to becoming an RN, nursing school, all of that stuff related to being a nurse. So I'm gonna try and like group all of those together and answer those questions right off the bat. So first question related to nursing is, what is or was your specialty in nursing? So because I have so many different questions related to nursing, I'm just gonna give you a really quick brief history of like how I became a nurse and that whole situation, because I feel like all of these questions you need to have that background before I can even answer them. So really quickly, I graduated from high school in 2014, graduated from nursing school in 2017 as an RN. So I graduated in May and then I took my boards in June. I was 20 at that time, so I was pretty young. And then I only worked for about 4 months before actually staying home after that, which I will get into here in just a minute. But that's kind of like my story of being an RN. I only worked for about 4 months before I actually started staying home. So back to this question, what is or was your specialty in nursing? So my specialty in nursing, I wouldn't say it was really a specialty just because I only worked for such a short time. So I actually worked at a nursing home in Minnesota. And it was good. Like, I didn't mind it, but it wasn't really what I wanted to be doing. What I want to do as a nurse is home care or hospice. That's what really interests me. I worked in that field for quite a few years when I was actually in nursing school as a home care aide, and I loved it, and I would love to go back to that as an RN. Unfortunately, the company that I worked for just did not have any job openings because they just didn't have any job openings. So I ended up going to the nursing home. Wasn't a huge fan of it, and I didn't want to stay there, and I wasn't going to working there while having kids at home. And then for the second part of that question, do you have any plans to go back anytime soon? Honestly, not really, because we would like for me to stay home with our kids until they're in school, which is going to be at least another like 3 years until Brindley is in school. And then if we do decide to have any more kids, it would be even longer than that. And it's just, I'm a little unsure about nursing and like what I want to do with nursing, if I'm being honest. Like I wasn't in love with what I was doing, but I'm really interested in doing home care and hospice. So if I can get into that in a few years when my kids are in school, then I would definitely consider going back into nursing. So the next question is, how do you study with a baby? And I think this is in regards to doing my CEUs. I posted this on my Instagram that I had like 24 hours of continuing education to do. So I am not currently in college. I am just like at home with my kids, but I did have to do some continuing education to keep up my nursing license, which I still have to work on that. I have 24 hours that need to be completed. So I just do that nap time after the kids are in bed and that sort of thing. I definitely cannot do that while they're awake. All right, so last question about nursing school, all of that was, how was nursing school? Was it extremely hard? So yes, it was very hard. I was, like I said, oh my goodness, I was 19 when I started nursing school, 20 when I graduated. So I only went through a 2-year program. I just have an associate's degree as an RN. I did get my associate's degree before that. So total, I did about 4 years of college, but I don't have a bachelor's degree in nursing. But nursing school was extremely hard. I did well in it, like I never almost failed or anything like that, but it was just extremely time consuming. I pretty much did not have a life outside of working in nursing school. I did work a lot when I was in school though, because that is how I paid through school. I did not have my parents paying for it. I did not really have loans or grants or anything like that. So I did work a lot of hours, so that made it a lot more stressful too. But on the flip side of that, I don't have loans now, and if I did have loans, I probably would be working and I wouldn't be able to be home with my kids. So if you are in nursing school and you only have to do schoolwork, I feel like you can handle it, but if you throw a job in there like I did, it definitely made it a lot harder, but it also was worth it because I don't have loans now. So to answer your question, yes, nursing school is definitely very difficult, but it's manageable. Like, you can do it. You just have to be very, very dedicated and really stay on top of things. So now we're going to go ahead and get into all of the non-nursing questions. We're going to start off with this one. What is your favorite hobby ever? I feel like since I had kids, I don't have hobbies because I don't really have time. I love cooking, I love baking. Like, those are honestly two of my favorite things to do, even way before YouTube. It's just something I've always loved. I did a lot of cooking and baking with my mom, which is probably why I like doing those things now. I also really like camping. That is one of my favorite things to do ever. We're planning a camping trip for about a month from now, and I'm so excited to go on that. That'll be our first camping trip since having kids. Let's see, other than that, what do I like to do? I like just going for walks. We like being outside, just doing a lot of like different activities. But I would say one of my favorite things is going camping, cooking. I don't know, I'm pretty simple. I don't have a lot of things I really like to do. Next one is, where do you find your amazing recipes? A lot of the recipes that I use are either ones that I've kind of tweaked from recipes that my mom gave me or things that she made growing up. I wouldn't say I follow like her exact recipes, but it'll just be like a different interpretation of what she did and kind of my spin on it. And then if it's not a recipe that I made up, I will go on Pinterest and scroll through and find tons of recipes. If you ever get stuck in a food rut, definitely check out Pinterest. They have so many recipes. I love typing in just like dinner recipes, chicken, dinner recipes, ground beef, or whatever I'm feeling, and you just get so many different ideas. Another place that I will go for recipes is obviously YouTube. I have so many friends on here that do cooking content, so I will definitely head over to their channels, check out their what's for dinners, different recipe ideas, and I get tons of inspiration that way as well. Next one is, what motivated you to start cooking? Like I said before, I did a ton of cooking with my mom. Well, I shouldn't say that. I did more baking with my mom, and I probably did more cooking with my dad, actually. My parents cooked very differently. I feel like my mom followed more recipes, whereas my dad was more like he would just throw stuff together and call it a meal. Like, he just was very experimental in his cooking. So I kind of took both of their ways of cooking and like really combined them and came up with my own style. And then I also love getting inspiration from Pinterest. That definitely motivates me to keep cooking. But just in general, I really do enjoy cooking. Like you guys probably already know, we remodeled our kitchen like just over a year ago, and that also really motivated me to start cooking more because our old kitchen was so bad. I will insert a picture somewhere up here if I can find one. It was so bad, you guys. It had basically 2 countertops. It was so difficult to cook in that kitchen, whereas now I have space, I have counter space, I have a dishwasher. So I just enjoy cooking so much more now that I actually have a kitchen that I enjoy cooking in. Made myself whipped coffee because, you know, your girl needs caffeine. Toddler sleep regression is a real thing, and I'm really experiencing that this last month or so. Seriously, send help. Next question is, do you want any more kids? I got this question so many different times, and it's so hard for me to even answer it because I truly do not know the answer. Kenny and I have talked about this so many different times. I would definitely say we talk about this multiple times a week because we're both kind of unsure if we want more or if we want to be done. It's a tricky thing. So we have a 1-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. They were like 15 and a half months apart, really close in age, and it's definitely hard. It's very hard having 2 kids that close in age because they're both still extremely dependent on us for everything. I feel like if we had, let's say, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, at least the 3-year-old is starting to become a little bit more independent on things. Obviously, they still need a ton of help, but anyway, so our kids are really close in age and it has definitely been a challenge. I will never say it has been easy to have 2 kids this close in age. It definitely has been very hard, but I do not regret it. I do not regret it one bit at all. I actually really love having them close in age and I wouldn't change it for the world. But because of that, I also feel like I need a break from having kids for a little bit. If we do decide to have any more, I think it will probably be like a couple years maybe, and then maybe have like 2 more if we decide to go that route, or we'll just be done at this point and that'll be the end of having kids for us. But we're both really open to whatever happens and however we feel in, like, let's say a year from now. So we're kind of unsure, but I think at this point we're leaning towards probably being done with just having 2 kids. But in a year from now, we really may change our minds. And then the second part of this question is, do you like being a stay-at-home mom? I absolutely love being a stay-at-home mom. It is so hard though. People that say stay-at-home moms sit on their butts all day clearly have never done it before. I love being home with my kids, but it is more work than I ever anticipated. It is so mentally draining, being screamed at all day long, dealing with tantrums and meltdowns and poopy diapers and just like everything. Your house is destroyed constantly. You're constantly cleaning and cooking and cleaning up puke and poop and who knows what. So I love being a stay-at-home mom, but it is the farthest thing from easy, and I will never ever sugarcoat that because I never want you guys to come to my channel and think I have it all together. If I flip this camera around right now, you would see that my floor is covered in puzzles, like absolutely covered. There's stuff everywhere. So yes, I love being a stay-at-home mom. I wouldn't change it. Obviously, if I didn't like being a stay-at-home mom, I would just go back to work because at this point we only have 2 kids. It would still pay for us to like pay for daycare. A lot of people end up being a stay-at-home mom because financially it just wouldn't make sense to work. You wouldn't make enough. That was not the case with us. It definitely would have made sense for me to go to work, but we're definitely making this sacrifice for me to stay home with our kids. What's your favorite part of being a mom? Oh, there's so many things I love about it. I feel like growing up, I always knew I wanted to be a mom. I really love like watching my kids grow and watching them through each different phase of everything, like the newborn phase, just a few months old, starting to smile, and then they walk, and like there's just so many different phases, and I feel like it's so fun watching our kids go through those. There's definitely challenges with those phases, but that's probably my favorite thing about being a mom. Next question is, how is being a stay-at-home mom with just one income? I will say it's definitely harder, obviously, to only live on one income. When I quit my job as an RN, obviously that was like half of our income completely gone, but it's worth the sacrifice to us, which is why we are doing it this way. I will say my husband is extremely frugal. If it was me in charge of all of our finances and spending money and all of that, and I like didn't have to run anything by him, we would probably be like have less money than we do, just because my husband is so frugal. And then when it comes to everything that we do in our house, my husband does all of that. Like he did our full kitchen remodel, so instead of spending, you know, 30-40 grand on it and paying somebody else to do that, he's able to do it himself, and we save a lot of money that way. We live in an older home that we have flipped and completely remodeled. I can try and find some old pictures and pop them up here. Our home was not nice when we moved in. We did not buy this house for this house. We bought it for the land, and that's actually how we ended up here. But because it's an older house, we don't have like a super expensive mortgage or anything like that. So that's a huge part of like why we were able to stay in this house and why we were able to like update it and everything. So that's kind of how our finances go with just living on one income. But I will say it's definitely harder to live on one income. It's is a challenge. Like, you have to really think about what you're spending. We do not spend money frivolously at all. We really think out things that we purchase. We think about them a long time before we actually do it. We really don't spend money on like eating out, coffee, things like that. We are pretty frugal, and that definitely helps the whole financial situation. So to sum it all up, we definitely live on a tighter budget because we live on one income, but I would never say we've really like struggled financially, because I feel like we have a pretty good handle on our finances. We know what we can spend and we don't go over that. We definitely try and stick to a budget as much as we can. Sorry, my camera actually died, so if this looks a little different, that's why I had to take a little break here. But next question is, what's been the hardest part of being on YouTube? I feel like a lot of people talk about the hate comments and just like the nasty comments that you get. I feel like that's not really the hardest part for me. I don't get actually a lot of like hate comments or rude comments. I do get them on occasion, but I don't really take them personally, because I feel like typically when people leave a hate comment, it's something that they're dealing with internally within themselves, and they're kind of like lashing out on other people. So I really try and not let those comments bother me, because truly they probably don't have their own issues that they're trying to work through, and they just don't know how to channel whatever they're dealing with, so they kind of take it out on other people. So I feel like for me, that's not the hardest part. I think the hardest part for me is just finding the time to work on YouTube. YouTube is so time consuming. If you don't have a channel, you probably don't realize the amount of time that actually goes into a single video. Like, for example, my what's for dinner videos, I probably spend a good 6 hours at least between editing, doing a voiceover, adding music, thumbnail, uploading, all of that, doing even like the description boxes of videos. It all takes a ton of time. I would say I spend at least 6 hours editing a what's for dinner video and getting all of that stuff done, if not more than that. Sometimes it's extremely time consuming, but I keep doing it because I truly do love it. I definitely would not be doing YouTube if I did not enjoy doing it, because it really is extremely time consuming. Next question is, what does your husband do? I feel like I'm not going to answer this question correctly. So he has basically a farming degree. I can't even remember the exact name of his degree. I think it's like agricultural something business with a crops emphasis. I'll ask him and I'll put it on the screen, because I don't remember what his degree is exactly. It's basically a farming degree mixed with business, and then he learned a lot about crops. So what he does for work, he is an applicator, which is basically spraying crops, if you know, just spraying crops in the field. But that's not really all that he does. He does a lot of just random things at his work. He does a lot of soil sampling. He works with farmers, talking to them about seed, things like that. I don't even really know everything he does. He does a lot of random things. Sometimes he's like fixing machinery. It just, you know, it's farming basically. That's what he does in a nutshell. I feel like I don't even have a good grasp of what he actually does at work, because it changes all the time. Not a question, but your kiddos are adorable and you're a great mama. Thank you so much. That's so sweet. What is the hardest part of partnering for you? I'm not sure if that means partnering with companies, or if that means like my relationship with Kenny as in like a partner. I'm not sure. If it's partnering with brands, I'm really selective about which brands I partner with. I definitely say no to the great majority of brands that reach out to me. So I mean, I wouldn't say it's hard to partner with brands. I'm just really selective. And then what is the hardest part of partnering with Kenny? Because I'm not sure if that's what this question is getting at. I feel like it's so hard having a spouse when you have like little kids. You're just like so busy. I think the hardest part in partnering with Kenny would be just making time for each other. And then the next question, how do you and Kenny make time for each other? So we're bad about this, if I'm being honest. We need to be better. I feel like since I started YouTube, it's even busier, because a lot of times I'm editing, working on YouTube stuff in the evenings, and he is so busy. So like I said, we bought this house for the land, not the house. So we have a lot of things that we are doing on our property, and that keeps Kenny really busy. He's kind of responsible for like the outside stuff. I'm responsible for the inside stuff. Even like mowing our lawn, it takes 3 hours just to mow our lawn, and that's with a 0-turn lawnmower. So I feel like we're not the best about spending time with each other, but we are pretty good about, we do like one set date night a week. Since COVID, that is definitely at home. We love watching Survivor together. We have watched that forever. Like we actually own over 20 of the Survivor seasons, and that's something that we like doing together. But we just try and be intentional about like having dinner at least one night a week, like a late night dinner after the kids are in bed, so we can just kind of talk, watch a movie together, things like that. Kenny loves playing board games, so we do that sometimes, or we'll go outside and have a bonfire. We'll go play like beanbags in our backyard, just things like that, where we just like try and be intentional about it instead of like just the day-to-day, you know, monotonous stuff of life. Apparently I am just struggling today because my camera just overheated. But anyway, that is kind of what Kenny and I do to spend time together. It's definitely nothing like extravagant or elaborate. It's pretty basic. We do not really like having people watch our kids or babysit our kids. So pretty much everything that we do spending time together is like at our house or on our property. We've only really had a few people babysit our kids since we even had kids. So probably like a handful of people have watched our kids in the last 2.5 years. And the only people that have watched our kids are our parents. So yeah, pretty much all of our time spent together is just kind of at home. I will say both Kenny and I are very like laid back, low key, very much so homebody type of people. So it works for us and it makes it a little bit easier when it comes to having kids too. Another question that I got was, are you LDS? And no, we are not actually. Next question is, did you make your own baby food? And I actually did. I did pretty much all of it. I would buy some on occasion just to like have jars that were really easy to have on hand for like taking places. But I did make all of our own baby food. It was so much cheaper that way. We actually have a garden, so I did tons of like green beans and carrots, squash, pumpkin, peas, just all kinds of different things. We actually had produce from our garden that I took and made into baby food. So it worked out really good for us. I would just steam it and then I'd throw it in our blender, puree it, add liquid of whatever kind, whether it was breast milk or water. And then I would freeze it in ice cube trays and I would just have it all ready to go in the freezer. Super easy to just warm up and give to my babies. But I will say both of my kids ended up doing baby-led weaning really, really early on. Neither of them really liked purees, so Brinley pretty much never took purees. She took them for maybe like 3 weeks and then she absolutely refused. Easton took them a little bit longer. I think he took them for maybe like 2 months. No, I don't think it was even that, maybe 1.5 months, and then he started refusing them. So my kids were both on purees for a really short time, and then I kind of switched them over to the baby-led weaning route. So when Brinley started refusing purees this time, I just switched her right away because I knew that's what Easton did. I knew how to do that, and so that's kind of what we did as far as baby food goes. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up this Q&A. That is all the questions that you guys left me. If you would like to be a part of the next Q&A, make sure you're following me over on my Instagram. I ask you all kinds of questions over there. Sometimes I ask like different videos that you guys want to see, poll you guys on what you want to see, things like that. So if that is something that you are interested in, definitely make sure you are following me over on Instagram. If you are not subscribed to my channel yet, hit that little subscribe button. I would love to have you. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching.
As
Bye.
a young girl, the fields were mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raised our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful and free, without a care.